Hey everybody, Steve here in Canton, Ohio, in front of William McKinley's monument, memorial, final resting place. It's really impressive. Yeah, look at these steps to get up. I've been here about an hour or two and I've seen dozens and dozens of people walking or running up these stairs. And I was just wondering how many people have actually had heart attacks and died right here at his memorial, at his monument. I'm guessing quite a few. Those are a lot of steps. You may remember that he was the third president to be assassinated. And this is definitely one of the most impressive presidential final resting places that I've visited so far. And I know I've said that over and over. It's like every time I go to the next one, it's more impressive than the one before. But this definitely so far, I think, is probably the most impressive one I've seen. Yeah, I've definitely seen some pretty impressive final presidential resting places here. I also got really lucky, and it's a beautiful sunny day here. And I guess that's maybe why so many people are out here in the park, walking and running and jogging and exercising. And I'm definitely getting my exercise here today too, which I need. I've been doing way too much sitting and driving, so this is perfect today. It's so quiet and solemn inside, and they do have the signs asking people to be quiet and respectful, so I didn't want to talk inside in front of the crypt, so I thought I would do it out here where it was a little bit more appropriate. For all of you who have asked me over the years, why are the grave sites of famous people so boring and so simple and modest? Well, it's true, many of them are, but if you want to see some over-the-top, extreme, gorgeous, just spectacular final resting places, start visiting the final resting places of the U.S. presidents, and I think you'll be very surprised and amazed, like I've been. Personally, this is how I think all famous and notable people should be buried, should be laid to rest in big monuments like this. Now, I know a lot of you will say that the money could be spent in better ways, feeding the homeless and doing other things, and that's true, but I think it's important to have monuments like this to help remember history, help remember famous people and historic things that have happened. And if we didn't spend any money on things like this, I think a lot of these things would just be forgotten. But there's no way you're going to forget this, right? It seems like lots of people are here today just to exercise, to walk or run up and down the stairs. Dozens and dozens since I've been here. I just noticed this sign that says there is an elevator for those who need it, and you can get the access codes from the administration office. And I also just noticed this, which looks like a walking path rather than stairs, and maybe this path takes you to the elevator. And here's the McKinley National Memorial historical marker that tells you a little bit about this monument. It says that it was funded by children's donations, and that it was dedicated and opened in 1907, which was 6 years after McKinley died. Just pause the video if you'd like to read it further. For now, let's head back up to the top and go inside. There's more information up there about the monument as well. And if you're wondering what the noise in the background is, it sounds and feels to me like it's an air conditioner. It's very warm outside and nice and cool in here. I'm not going to read all of the information on this plaque, but again, feel free to pause the video, especially if you're watching on a larger screen. The monument was designed by architect Harold Van Buren McGonigal and was completed and dedicated on September 30th, 1907, with President Theodore Roosevelt here to speak at the dedication. It was paid for by a public fundraising campaign which raised $550,000, much of it donated by children, as I mentioned earlier. Funds were also raised this way for President James Garfield's monument, Lincoln's tomb, and a number of other presidents from this era. And in case you're wondering just how tall this monument is, not including all of the stairs, it's 97 feet high, which is equivalent to being just about 7 stories tall. In comparison, James Garfield's monument is 180 feet tall, which is nearly twice the height of McKinley's monument, but when you add the height of the additional 108 steps, it appears that McKinley's monument overall is a couple of stories taller than Garfield's. Both are without a doubt very impressive. McKinley's is just a little bit more grand on the outside, while Garfield's is a little bit more grand on the inside. So for me, it's a tie for first place when it comes to majestic and stately presidential final resting places. And Grant's tomb and Lincoln's tomb aren't too far behind. It was originally owned by the McKinley National Memorial Association until 1943, It was then owned by the state of Ohio from 1943 to 1973, and it's currently the property and responsibility of the Stark County Historical Society of Canton, Ohio, where it's located. William McKinley was born on January 29, 1843, in Niles, Ohio, and was only 58 years old when he was assassinated in Buffalo, New York. He was shot twice in the abdomen at close range while greeting members of the public at a public reception on September 6, 1901. The gunshot wounds weren't immediately fatal, but the field of medicine was still in its infancy back then, and doctors didn't know how to properly treat his wounds, so 8 days after being shot, he died from the shooting on September 14th. His deranged assassin and anarchist, Leon Kolgaz, was soon after tried and convicted of the murder, and was sent to the electric chair a month and a half after the assassination on October 29, 1901, and he was 28 years old. They sure didn't seem to know much about preventing assassinations back then, or how to prevent deaths from assassination attempts, but they sure were confident and swift when it came to executions and justice. President McKinley is laid to rest here with his wife and First Lady, Ida Saxton McKinley, and their 2 daughters, Catherine and Ida. Sadly, Catherine only lived to the age of 3 years old, and Ida died when she was only 4 months old. The 2 girls are interred within the wall directly behind their parents' sarcophaguses. First Lady Ida McKinley died less than 6 years after her husband on May 26, 1917, at the age of 59, just a few months before the completion and dedication of this monument. Before you walk up the steps to this monument, on the left-hand side is the William McKinley Library. There's also a museum, a science center, and a planetarium. Unfortunately, I arrived too late today to visit, so make sure and allow lots of extra time if you're planning to visit yourself in the future. And just in case you're wondering like I was, I did check online to see if there were any news articles about anyone who might have died here from walking or running up these steep stairs since this monument first opened nearly 115 years ago, and I wasn't able to find a mention of a single fatality here. I'm happy to hear that, but it does seem pretty unlikely. And I'm also glad that I didn't kick the bucket climbing these steps a couple of times today on my bucket list road trip. This week I want to thank my newest Patreon supporters, Joe Carroll, David Rakowitz, and Tony White. Thank you all so much for your very kind donations to my channel. They're very appreciated. As always, thanks for joining me on another historic road trip to the past until our next trip to the cemetery together. Thanks for sharing the memories, everybody.